So poops, if you believe reformasi is about changing society, how wonderful then for all of us that Wan Fayhsal agrees with our Prime Minister. How wonderful that he wants to change our flowers. Here, have a listen.
Yang Menteri, izinkan saya mengusulkan satu perkara berkenaan dengan biodiversity kita. Sempena Hari Kebangsaan yang ke-68 ni dan juga semangat Yang Mamat Tambun yang mengajak kita melihat sejarah kita di luar kerangka kolonial, boleh tak Yang Mamat Menteri menggunakan kuasa yang Mamat Menteri ada dalam NERS ini, Jabatan Alam Sekitar, untuk menukar nama bunga terbesar di Malaysia, iaitu Rafflesia. Rafflesia ni nama diambil sempena nama Stamford Raffles, penjajah kita, orang yang tak berakhlak, tak beretika. Kita bagi nama yang begitu baik pada bunga kita. Mungkin Yang Mak Menteri boleh cadangkan kepada kabinet, carilah nama lain lebih cantik, nama Anwar Ibrahim pun tak apa. Tak ada masalah, asalkan yang lebih baik. We have been living under his shadow for 68 years. Tak baik begini Yang Mak Menteri. Terima kasih.
Saya ambil maklum. Kalau ada nama cadang.
Wow, terpaling negarawan, terpaling jati diri. Tahniah dan terima kasih YB Wan Ahmad Fayhsal. Now, don't get me wrong, I like Wan Fayhsal. I've met him on a couple of occasions. I think he's a very articulate, well-educated gentleman, but I think that he's wrong here. Which is why I had that long debate with him on his Instagram post about this, and I continue to have this Instagram debate with him where I talk a little bit about the whole Raffles thing.
So yeah.
Here are a couple of points. Number one, the flower was already called Bunga Pakma in Malay, so actually, if you think about it, it doesn't really make sense to go out and then try to change the name of the flower because there was never a problem in the first place. There is no epistemic violence, there is no need to actually go out and start changing names when there are so many more better things that you could be doing in Parliament. Especially when in Kelantan, you see sumbang mahram, porn consumption, drugs, people migrating out because they have no job opportunities, and so many other things which he could meaningfully discuss with his parliament time and with the other 221 MPs of the Dewan Rakyat. Number two, we have not been living under his shadow for the last 68 years. Reason A, the Rafflesia was actually named in 1820, so if you're looking back to the time when the flower was named the Rafflesia, that's not 68 years, that's 205. Another thing is, I don't understand why he's suddenly thinking about Raffles and how he's such a horrible human being when Raffles had very little to actually do with what we now call Malaysia.
So kalau we had 68 years of independence pun, I don't see what this has to do with us.
I mean, sure, there's the whole independence and separation thing, Sultan of Johor, whatever, but it was basically like he signed the Anglo-Dutch Treaty in 1824, and from then on, he was associated with Singapore. Not Malaysia, Singapore. So right there already, you have two problems. Number one, that already is a Malay name, and number two, your timeline, facts, and relevance are completely off. But still, here he is, our Perikatan Nasional blue-eyed boy, going out citing Syed Hussein Alatas, great hero of kemandirian, no more epistemic violence, categories, colonialism, penjajahan, and any number of, I'm sorry, pretentious ways of looking at the world. But you know, Waf, it's good that you mentioned the Alatas family, because I think I read the exact book that you were referencing as you continue to create your
Short paper.
I met every single one of the kids in this family, by the way, on different occasions. And in fact, at the launch of this book, which you are using right now, wrongly, to bolster your nationalistic case. Maybe you don't know that the same family, that all these ideas that you get, myth of the lazy native and intellectuals in developing societies,
From
are casually going out and talking about how kemandirian intellectual doesn't mean just casually throwing away something from the colonial past. It doesn't mean membodek the West, reading European intellectuals, telling ourselves that we love the Enlightenment, but at the same time, it doesn't mean going out and then declaring that only Mahathir is truth, Jose Rizal, Nolimi Tanjere are the finest in the world. It means also learning everything that you can and integrating it no matter what, and without saying, oh, this is from the West, I cannot learn anything from it. No! The world is way too large and way too diverse for that. If you're getting caught up on the naming of a single flower, instead of thinking about how you can actually learn from both the West and the East and combining them together to create something better, and instead prefer just casually carrying out your performative decolonization campaign, which you carry out without seeming to know about the Malay name of what we call the Rafflesia, I seriously wonder whether you're even prepared to have this conversation. You know who was prepared to have this conversation though? Singapore. Namely, the country that actually had Raffles at the forefront of the country's story. There was a statue of Raffles that was put into the city-state, and there it stood before later Singapore achieved its independence. And then people had to ask what they were going to do with the statue. Do you destroy it? Following the whole #Rhodes must fall, so must Raffles mentality? Well, Singapore didn't decide on that. In fact, it was actually part of the economic planning of early Singapore that they keep the Raffles statue. That was the advice of Singapore economic advisor Albert Winsemius to Lee Kuan Yew, and the late Mr. Lee actually followed it as a way of ensuring continuity with Singapore's past and using it as a foundation to go off into the future. Acknowledging that yes, colonialism was bad in certain ways, but it was good in certain ways as well because of things like the rule of law and certain ways of doing things, which ultimately were beneficial for Singaporean society as a whole.
Oh yeah, and the country's most famous school was and remains Raffles Institution.
It's not to say that the controversy didn't exist, because colonialism is inherently about exploitation, and who we choose as heroes and villains shapes the way that we think about our world, country, and society. But I think that just trying to get rid of Raffles or colonialism as a whole is a very narrow-minded and performative way of thinking about the issue. What Singapore did was a lot healthier. During the bicentennial, in fact, they made the Raffles statue, now known as Orang Besi, into a part of an art exhibit. They painted it dark grey so that it blended against the Singaporean skyline. They put in statues of other figures next to the statue of Raffles to show that history wasn't created just on the shoulders of one man. Discussions about Raffles' legacy here, there, and everywhere that I think were meaningful and beneficial for helping people to come to terms with their colonial past, not to throw it away, but to pretty much face the shadow, as Jung might have said, and to be like, okay, so this happened, it was a part of us, let's not run away from it, and let's see how we can use it to motivate us for the future. Unfortunately though, the Rafflesia obsession way is the norm and not the exception in Malaysia, where people just go out and then try to change the names of roads and buildings. Kononnya because it makes people more autonomous, have more jati diri, when there is basically no connection to any of that jati diri, and
Even if there were,
it doesn't outweigh the fact that people have the sense that this country is failing because the leaders are talking about useless things. If you think it's not useless, then can you explain to me maybe why this justifies the MPs of the Dewan Rakyat having a conversation about this topic? You guys get 25,700 ringgit every month as fixed allowance, which tallies to 5.7 million ringgit every single month for all of the MPs, not even including your basic salary and everything else, which means that if you have a discussion about this topic for just 5 hours, then what effectively happens is that you end up wasting
minimum
200,000 ringgit of rakyat money for no actual benefit. So I hope you have an explanation, Waf. If this is such a valuable discussion to be having, why do you think so? And if it was such a valuable discussion, then why come in without even basic preparation on the facts? Of course, if you think that Singapore is made of stooges, please go ahead and let me know in the comments why that's the case and why Malaysia uniquely needs to change our legacy, get rid of Raffles, write a message of protest so that the scientific name can be changed, and follow the thread of your deep-seated interest to its natural conclusion. Well, I wish you the very best in finding all the dalils that you need, and I hope that you'll be able to get all the Bunga Pakmas that you may ever need and want in this lifetime. If you, dear viewer, run a flower shop, make sure to send YB Waf a lifetime supply of Rafflesias, Bunga Pakmas. I'm sure he'll be very, very happy with the gesture. Alright, that's all I have to say about that, and bye.